Welcome. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating concept: the convergence of contingency. This presentation offers a complexity view of the West versus the East, urging us to move beyond traditional Eurocentrism. Our goal is to understand how geography, language, and thought didn't preordain but rather assembled to create a temporary divergence between these regions. We'll shift our perspective from analytic reductionism to synthetic holism, offering a richer, more interconnected understanding. Let's first address what I call the trap of analytic reductionism. For too long, thinkers like Marx, with his concept of an Asiatic mode lacking capitalism, or Weber, contrasting Western rationality with Eastern mysticism, have sought to explain global power dynamics through internal factors only. Even Wallerstein's Europe-centered world system, while broader, still leans into this. This approach often leads us to ask, why did the West win? Which, I argue, is the wrong question. It inherently presumes exceptionalism and seeks a single, magic bullet, trait inside Europe, fundamentally ignoring the intricate global system that actually shaped its trajectory. Instead, let's embrace synthetic holism, a view from the periphery. This perspective understands that the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. Europe, for much of history, was a peripheral region of Eurasia. Its eventual rise was not due to isolated brilliance, but rather an emergent outcome of complex global interactions, characterized by constant feedback loops and intricate connections. As André Gunder Frank insightfully noted, the rise of the West was, in many ways, fueled by the decline of the East. To truly understand this, we must analyze the dynamic flow of relations, not just static locations or internal attributes. To understand these dynamics, we'll use assemblage theory. This framework helps us see how different elements come together to create an event, a new productive capacity. We have what are called machinic assemblages, which are non-discursive or physical elements like geography, bodies, tools, and resources. Then, we have collective assemblages of enunciation, which are discursive or semiotic elements, things like language, laws, logic, and symbols. As Deleuze and Guattari famously put it, eras are formed by the coming together of heterogeneous parts. It's the interaction and convergence of these two types of assemblages that creates significant historical shifts. Let's start with machinic assemblage I geography as destiny. It's crucial to understand that there is no biological difference between peoples, the difference lies in location. Consider China a vast, centralized landmass. This geography inherently favored self-sufficiency and fostered stability, often leading to inward focus. Now look at Europe, a peninsula of peninsulas, incredibly fragmented by mountains and coastlines. This fragmented geography drove a constant need to carve into the sea, encouraging seafaring, trade, and competition among smaller political units. Building on this, machinic assemblage too involves the Atlantic integration. This was a system where Europe, with its maritime innovations, could connect to the Americas, a source of vast resource extraction. This fueled capital accumulation and trade, creating a powerful market. Meanwhile, Europe's fragmented political landscape drove intense competition among states, which in turn fostered robust and competitive state apparatuses. This Atlantic system, though geographically distinct, was deeply linked to and impacted by dynamics in Asia and Africa, illustrating how interconnected these machinic elements truly were on a global scale. Now, let's shift to discursive assemblage I, the Greek legacy. Many scholars argue that what set the Greeks apart was their unique capacity for constructing universal and necessary deductive systems. As Lee Young-woo notes, they were able to move beyond mere empirical observations. This was a critical development because it cultivated a mindset capable of science, the ability to create abstract, law-like formulations from observed phenomena. You can think of this as providing the essential software for the later scientific revolution. This leads us to discursive assemblage too, encoding abstract thought. The way a culture encodes its thought profoundly impacts what it can achieve. The Western alphabet, with its linear, modular, and functional structure, proved incredibly apt for mathematical formalization. It's ideal for expressing precise, functional mathematical relationships, allowing for complex equations and proofs. In contrast, Chinese characters, while rich in meaning and context, are logographic and holistic, making them less suited for directly expressing the kind of abstract, functional mathematical relationships that became foundational to Western science. And this brings us to discursive assemblage 3, the algorithm of diffusion. The linear alphabet, combined with the invention of movable type, created a powerful mechanism for knowledge dissemination. This combination was mechanically optimized for high-velocity replication. It allowed Western knowledge to be accumulated, diffused, and built upon in a continuous feedback loop at a speed that was virtually impossible for more complex, logographic systems. This rapid spread and iteration of ideas was a critical factor in the West's intellectual acceleration. The critical mass occurred when content met expression. The scientific revolution wasn't just destiny, it was the specific, accidental locking together of crucial machinic elements like capital accumulation, favorable geography, and access to resources with equally crucial discursive elements, such as formal logic, the linear alphabet, and advanced mathematics. This created a powerful positive feedback loop. It was this unique convergence that ignited the industrial explosion, not some inherent superiority. This convergence shaped the intellectual climate, dictating what a body could think and what it could do. Ideas don't arise in a vacuum. Figures like Watt and Einstein were products of a very specific semiotic framework, a way of thinking and communicating that actively encouraged mechanistic modeling and abstract scientific inquiry. While the East certainly had remarkable inventions, it often lacked this particular, chain reaction, intellectual climate, which was essential for the sustained and accelerating scientific and technological advancements seen in the West. So, what does this all mean? It means understanding that the West's rise was a matter of contingency, not necessity. Looking at this timeline, we see that the paths of the East and West were closely aligned for millennia. The significant divergence, particularly around the 18th century, was an accident of time and place. It was the necessary outcome of a contingent interaction of specific factors aligning at a specific moment. It was an event, a temporary divergence, not an eternal or inherent trait of any group of people. Now, we are witnessing the shift to postmodernity. As the world transitions from a mechanistic, rigid modernity to a more networked, fluid postmodernity, the very structures that propelled the West may begin to yield. We might see a new appreciation for an integration of the holistic traditions that have long been characteristic of the East. It reminds us that, as the saying goes, reversals of circumstance are always possible. This brings us to the great equalizer: light speed. In an era where information moves virtually instantaneously, geographical accumulation, the physical gathering of resources and capital, becomes less of a defining factor. We are entering a period of the democratization of production. In this new landscape, democracy, understood as openness, transparency, and unhindered communication, becomes the new engine of productive capacity. Access to information and global collaboration replace physical proximity as the primary drivers of progress. Ultimately, our journey today has been about moving beyond the binary. To achieve this, we must commit to 3 key principles. First, reject exceptionalism. No culture or region is inherently superior or destined for greatness. Second, understand the assemblage. Recognize the complex interplay of machinic and discursive elements that create historical outcomes. And third, recognize the contingency. Accept that these outcomes are not inevitable but are the result of specific, often accidental, convergences in time and place. Thank you.